Loki Season 2 kicks off right where we left off in Season 1, and let me tell you, it's a roller coaster ride from the get-go. In Episode 1, we find our favorite god of mischief dealing with quite the pickle. The TVA is now under the control of Kang the Conqueror, and things have taken a wild turn. To make matters worse, Loki's buddy Mobius, played by Owen Wilson, doesn't even recognize him anymore. The episode dives headfirst into Loki's dilemma, and it turns out that the Mobius who's drawing a blank about their past adventures is actually a result of some time-slipping shenanigans. Yep, time travel is back in action, and it's serving up a plate of Easter eggs for us fans to gobble up. So, as you can imagine, the episode is a total whirlwind. Loki, Mobius, and OB, played by Ke-Huy Quan, are on a mission to put a stop to Loki's time-slipping escapades before it messes up everything. Meanwhile, the rest of the TVA is dealing with the aftermath of He Who Remain's demise. Phew, talk about a confusing time travel plot. But fear not, we're here to break it all down for you. So let's dive into the nitty-gritty of Loki Season 2, Episode 1's mind-bending ending, shall we? All the time slips explained. Loki Season 2 bursts onto the scene exactly where Season 1 left off, with Loki caught up in some time-slipping madness at the TVA. After a dramatic escape from TVA soldiers, he crashes into a building and meets a past version of Casey who has zero memory of their previous encounters. Talk about awkward. Now, Loki's on a slippery journey, bouncing back and forth between the past and present, all in the name of finding Mobius and explaining his timey-wimey problem. Along the way, he stumbles into the TVA's war room in the past, discovering recordings of He Who Remains and Ravana Renslayer from the Multiversal War. Oh, and the war room walls have some pretty funky designs featuring the original He Who Remains. Finally, Loki manages to reunite with the versions of Mobius and B-15 who remember him, and they all gather to have a chat. Loki's got some explaining to do, but Mobius decides it's time for a field trip to Ouroboros, or as they call it, OB for short. They're hoping to fix this whole time-slipping mess. But wait, there's more. Loki's time-slipping adventures get even wilder. His destinations remain a mystery until he meets the past version of OB, while Mobius hangs out with the present OB. It's like a double Loki party. Now, just when you think things couldn't get crazier, the final twist hits. Loki's last time slip propels him into the TVA's future, where chaos reigns supreme. He's on a frantic hunt for a time stick to help with OB's plan to stop the time-skipping madness. But surprise, he crosses paths with Sylvie, who makes it seem like she's been searching for him. Then, out of nowhere, an unknown baddie prunes Loki, sending him back to the present with Mobius and OB before the episode leaves us hanging. Woo! Talk about a time-traveling adventure. How Loki stopped time-slipping. Alright, so here's the scoop on how Loki put a stop to his pesky time-slipping problem. The plan, cooked up by OB, was a bit of a brain teaser. The whole idea was for Loki to prune himself, essentially erasing all traces of himself from every timeline. Sounds pretty drastic, right? Now Loki had to time his self-pruning just right. At the very same moment, our buddy Mobius had to activate this snazzy device called a temporal aura extractor. According to OB's theory, this perfectly timed double whammy would yank Loki back to the present and put an end to his wild time-hopping adventures. Fast forward to the end of Loki Season 2, Episode 1, and the plan goes into action. Loki's in the TVA's chaotic future, frantically searching for a time stick to prune himself when the moment arrives. Meanwhile, Mobius is setting up the temporal aura extractor, hooking it up to the temporal loom, which is like the TVA's time conversion hub. Finally, the big moment arrives. Loki gets pruned in the future by some mysterious character. This triggers the temporal aura extractor to do its thing, pulling Loki back into the present, and voila, it seems like the time-slipping headache is finally over. Time for a breather. Who pruned Loki? Now let's talk about the big mystery in Loki Season 2, Episode 1. Who in the world pruned Loki in the future? It's like a cliffhanger that left us all scratching our heads. Just as Sylvie shows up and things get interesting. Bam! Someone prunes Loki from behind, and we're left hanging along with the god of mischief himself without a clue. But here's the juicy part. The most likely answer might just be Loki himself. Yep, you heard me right. Loki is now hip to the fact that, at some point in the future, a version of himself is going to pop up at that exact moment, causing all this time-slipping chaos. So being the clever trickster that he is, he might have decided to take matters into his own hands and prune himself to put a stop to the madness. Talk about self-sabotage Loki style. What's Sylvie doing at the TVA? Now let's dive into the pile of questions this scene left us with, especially about what Sylvie's deal is in the TVA. As of the end of Loki Season 2, Episode 1, we're still drawing blanks on that one. It's like a riddle wrapped in an enigma. But here's the scoop. Chances are, the answers to all these burning questions will unfold slowly as the season chugs along. Think about it. These events are set in the future, and we're probably going to get the lowdown from both Loki and Sylvie's perspectives as the season unfolds. Heck, it might even wait until the grand finale to spill all the time travel beans. So buckle up, because we're in for some seriously complicated time travel storytelling. Who's calling the TVA phone? Oh, and let's not forget about that sneaky, unanswered question regarding who's dialing up the TVA phone in the future. It's like a tantalizing mystery that's begging to be solved. Picture this. Just as Loki locks eyes with Sylvie before getting pruned, a phone starts ringing in the TVA. And let me tell you, that phone gets some serious screen time, so whoever's on the other end of the line is bound to be a big deal in this crazy story. But here's the kicker: as of the end of Loki Season 2, Episode 1, we're all left hanging, scratching our heads about who this mysterious caller could be. It's one of those tantalizing loose ends that's just waiting to be tied up, and I've got a feeling it's going to be a major plot twist down the road. So yeah, frustration levels are high, but that's what keeps us coming back for more, right? How does this season change the MCU's time travel rules? Hold on to your time turners, folks, because Loki Season 2, Episode 1 throws a curveball right at the MCU's time travel rulebook. Remember in Avengers Endgame when Hulk gave us the lowdown that changing the past wouldn't mess with the future but create new timelines? Well, Loki's time-slipping escapades in this episode are like a direct challenge to that theory. See, Loki was busy chatting it up with OB in the past, and it wasn't just a harmless chat. Nope, he was actually messing with the events of the present. That's a major shift from what we thought we knew about MCU time travel, right? Now, you could argue that the TVA operates on its own set of time rules, but regardless, it's clear that Loki Season 2 is shaking up the whole timey-wimey game in the MCU. Who knows where this'll lead us next? But one thing's for sure, the rules of time travel just got a bit murkier in the Marvel universe. The temporal loom's linked to the MCU multiverse. Alright, let's talk about this cool new addition to the MCU multiverse, the temporal loom, as introduced in Loki Season 2, Episode 1. OB drops some knowledge bombs about this thing, explaining that it's the part of the TVA where they take raw time and turn it into actual timelines. Fancy, right? Now here's the juicy part. He Who Remains' exit stage left is causing this temporal loom to go haywire. The endless branching of timelines caused by his departure is like overloading the system, which in turn leads to Loki's wacky time-slipping and those pesky power surges at the TVA. So what's the big deal for the MCU multiverse? Well, OB drops a hint that he's gonna try and retrofit the temporal loom to handle all these crazy branching timelines. And here's the kicker, this could be the very thing that allows the multiverse to fully take shape. Think about it, countless timelines coexisting side by side. As for the nitty-gritty details, we'll have to wait for the next 5 episodes of Loki Season 2 to spill the beans. It's like a multiverse mystery that's just waiting to unravel, and I'm here for it. What does General Dox have planned for Sylvie? Now let's talk about what's cooking with General Dox in Loki Season 2, Episode 1. She's got one thing on her mind: answers. With the TVA in complete chaos following He Who Remains' demise, the bigwigs like General Dox are in a bit of a tizzy. So what's the solution? Well, Dox decides she needs the lowdown on what went down at the end of time. To get those answers, she doesn't mess around. Dox starts rounding up every TVA agent she can find and sends them all after Sylvie. Yep, it's a full-scale extraction operation to squeeze the truth out of her. Now, you can bet your Infinity Stones that this is just the start of the trouble, and it's setting the stage for some seriously dramatic moments in the upcoming episodes of Loki Season 2. Buckle up, because things are about to get wild. Post-credits scene explained. Alright, let's dive into the post-credits scene of Loki Season 2, Episode 1. It's a quirky one, I'll tell you that. So after all the credits have rolled and Loki's managed to avoid turning into spaghetti or getting lost in time, we find ourselves back with Sylvie right after He Who Remains bit the dust. Now Sylvie does something that screams 80s nostalgia. She zaps herself back to the year 1982 and strolls into a McDonald's that's like a time capsule. We're talking vintage 80s designs, complete with a seriously bizarre cartoon tree. She chats with the young manager and does something that's both epic and puzzling. She orders one of everything on the menu. Now, here's the million-dollar question. How in the multiverse does she pay for all those burgers, fries, and nuggets? It's a head-scratcher for sure. Some say maybe she's forced to work at the same McDonald's to cover her fast food bill, while others speculate she might just whip out some magical currency. Either way, it's a hilarious and intriguing twist that leaves us wondering what's next for Sylvie, both in her fast food adventures and in the bigger picture of Loki Season 2. That brings us to the end of today's episode. Are you excited that Loki is finally back? Let us know in the comments below, and if you haven't already, then please like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.